you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, stop offering me. 'Cause I'm everything you want. Damn, show what you need. I won't tell no lies. Back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's new.
Or even Rumble. Post something, just real fast.
Hey, Hogs Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Trying to get the show up. There we go. Welcome to The Dumb Show. Looks like it's already up. You can visit at The Dumb Show if you'd like, or thedumbshow.com. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me. And you...
I pushed it already.
It's not working.
Oh, because I pushed it before I even said your name.
Shit. It's one of those things.
It is one of those nights.
You know what? I forgot to reset. We did not prepare effectively. Hold on.
Well, it was impromptu to come on.
Yeah, it was. Hold on. We're going to get this to work. What a shit show.
Yeah, the one time I'm actually on time, like before,
Yeah, I know.
it didn't work.
I know. It's to be expected. All right, let's try it again. Matthew Spear, the host of Don't Unfriend Me.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, good.
And welcome to the show. It's good to have everybody here. You can find us at The Dumb Show or thedumbshow.com.
I did the logo.
It's not up. Otherwise, I would be looking at you.
I pushed it.
Pushed it again. There it is. Jeez. It's so...
Well, if
it's
your
so,
name was up, doesn't
it's
it?
so hard to find good help these days.
Well, would you like to find some other help?
I don't think it's too late. We got married a long time ago. There's not much I can do. It's by the way, somebody said that I on a scale of 1 to 10, how divorced are you?
Divorced.
And I said,
What does that mean?
I said the fact that you're scaling it to 1 to 10 says more about me than you, which means that you actually have more than one divorce, hence why you're scaling it 1 to 10. But that's not at the point. And listen, this guy also said I should commit suicide. He said that he hoped I became a statistic. I've got a Twitter.
He sounds like a really awesome, upstanding
Oh yeah,
guy.
he's just a troll. These are one of these guys that they couldn't make it in comedy. They couldn't make it in life. So what they do is that they troll people, and they essentially, it's like roasting. They feel that they can say anything they want. And what will happen is that this guy, this jagoff, will say something and somebody will kill themselves. And then he's going to be held culpable. And his whole life will be upended. And in the end there, I just said, hey, man, I don't consider suicide a joke. And I just ceased communication with him. But I kept going, trading barbs with him back and forth. It's been a day. And the reason it's been a day is because that video that I made earlier in regards to firearms. And it's pretty big on Twitter. It's doing pretty well. Hey, everybody on Rumble, will you guys say something for God's sake? Let us know you're there. We keep hearing from, like, Rumble's been growing. We've had 40, 50 people on there, and I didn't know. And I think everyone's so used to not talking on Rumble. But will you say something, please? We're here. We're going to read your comments. It's Q&A night tonight. And to give you a heads up, if you want to, this is an impromptu show. We're usually not on Tuesdays. I don't expect to be a massive amount of people. But one of the viewers said, hey, well, why don't you have a Q&A show and, ask questions? And it doesn't matter what the question is. You can ask Olivia. Like someone was asking Olivia about what?
Bearded dragons. They
were asking about your bearded dragon. No, that's unacceptable. We don't talk. Oh, that's mine.
If you could only see the look
the
that
lizard.
I'm giving him right
now.
now.
The lizard. Oh.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
assuming it was a listener messaged me and they just got adopted a baby bearded dragon. So was asking me a bunch of questions about it.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. We're open. It's your nickel. 804-504-1955. You can call in, or you can actually get the Don't Unfriend Me show. And all you got to do is...
Somebody said it's difficult to chat on Rumble.
That's Carrie. Carrie's always making things difficult. It's her fault. No, I'm kidding.
By the way, my name's Olivia. Hello,
yeah,
everyone.
that's Olivia.
Since somebody was so rude not to introduce me.
Whatever. I was afraid you couldn't find the button again. It's
That's your job.
Okay, that joke's old. Can you not ever say it again? So, open mic night. Now, there was a video that I put out in regards to gun control. And listen, I realize that the bigger this show gets, by the way, we're on the precipice of 150,000. What's the countdown, Liv?
We are at 101 left to go.
So once again, I never get an answer from her ever.
101 left to go.
I don't want to do the math. Just tell me how many likes we have.
Oh, I thought you meant how many is left. 149,899.
So
sorry.
So we're listen. My wife and I have this thing. I'll ask a question. I'm like, "Hey, honey, I got a question. What's the weather outside?" And she's like, "Oh my God, it's raining in London."
Hi, Megan.
Great. So can you tell me what's the weather like outside? Sure. Did you guys know that there was a barn door in a house that I drove by in Pennsylvania that was green? What's the weather like outside? Do you know there's swamp gas on Venus? And it's like, I can't get an answer no matter what. And there's a prime example. Hey, what's the number? Where are we at as far as likes? 101 left. That's not what I asked. I didn't ask how many to 150,000, and please go ahead and do the math and reverse it back to me in a Jeopardy question so my head explodes online. Just tell me how many damn likes we have. Sorry.
It's going to be one of those nights, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not going to be one. No, I'm just frustrated at everybody else, so I'm taking it out on you tonight.
Yep.
Whatever. You can handle it. You're tough. You've dealt with this for
24 years.
a quarter of a century.
24 years, not quite a
Quarter of a century. See, here we go again. See, here we go. You can't say anything. You can't say anything without getting a date.
I did that on purpose.
A sermon. Well, of course. So we're check your damn weather app, Matt. Right. But my wife can go ahead and say, honey, what's the weather like outside? To me, like every 5 seconds. Honey, what's temperature? Honey, is it cold? You're right. I should check the weather app.
I did that this morning because you had just been outside recording a video. So I just asked you if it was nice outside. Normally I check my weather app.
Yeah, but the difference is I answer you and I'm like, it's a little bit of breeze, but it's comfortable.
Ooh, I got some people on my team. Team Olivia Spear. Woohoo.
Why? What's going on? She's right.
Know.
Whatever, Jerry. You're not going to get laid. She's my wife.
No, it's Dodie.
Yeah, I love all these guys that are trying to fucking, everyone takes the girl side online and it's like, dude, come on. You're desperate. You're not that you're desperate, Jerry. I'm not saying that. Whatever. My wife's always right. I learned that a long time ago. I'm married. I don't have the luxury of being right.
That's a good point.
Right. Ramon's like, I don't need a fucking story either. Just answer the fucking question. Exactly. Pardon my French.
He must be married.
Yeah, he must be. All right. Let's get this thing. Let's get hashtag Team Olivia Spear. All right. So anyway, I want to share this guy with everybody. All on Facebook, it doesn't say the number of likes. Uncle Stumpy, it doesn't anymore. And they do that. Get this. You're going to love this. See, I get updates from Meta, Facebook all the time. And they explain, and they send out newsletters. Just like, your kid at school, and you get the principal newsletter. I get the Facebook Mark Zuckerberg newsletter. And the reason why they stopped showing likes on pages is because other pages were feeling inferior because they didn't have the same amount of likes as other people.
Are you
No,
serious?
I'm not kidding.
What the hell is wrong
So,
with people?
and my posts are extremely engaging and they get a ton of interaction and you can't see how much interaction's on there, which sucks, but it is what it is. What can you do? Yeah. We've got some people over on Rumble. So it's weird. So if you're on Rumble, please give us a like, follow, and share. Now, folks, listen, this show is going to literally be very, very quick and boring if we don't have some questions. I hope you're looking.
I was just over.
So Q&A time. I mean, seriously, let's get a viewer said you got to have Q&A. It's like, it seems like viewers want to do it. So I'm giving you guys a chance. We used to do this all the time and it was decent, but it never really kicked off. So if you want to come on, show's on. If you want to go ahead and say something, ask a question, whatever, here it is. If not, then this is going to be the shortest show in history. This is going to be like my love life. So today,
Now we're at 149,900.
Outstanding.
100 left.
That's outstanding. So this is what happened earlier, and I want to give this guy attention because I want people to know what you should not do. And the reason I say you should not do it, it's pretty simple. It's because you're an idiot, and unfortunately, people do not have the capability to argue anymore. And they have no idea how to debate. And it's really pathetic. So if I show you this real quick, let's see if he's replied.
Somebody just said they tried calling the number. It didn't go through.
Oh. Okay, try it now. Give it a try. So, oh my God. And then you got these people that just can't freaking argue to save their lives. Oh, it's exhausting. All right. So this is the douche plow.
Somebody just asked, do you think that DeSantis should run for president or wait until 2028?
All right, I'll answer that. So this is Dan from Mount Greenwood. This is the guy. And you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to give him any time. God, I hope he's watching. All right, so Ron DeSantis, should he run for president? Here's my personal opinion. And I'm just going to stick to the biggest factual conversation we can have. I don't think Donald Trump is electable. Not on his current trajectory. Not with the current things that he's doing. And a prime example is the rally that he just had. The January 6th choir and talking about J6 as much as he does, talking about the stolen election that he does, talking about his indictments, talking and making fun of DeSantis and talking about how he's crying. He literally was just gaslit by DeSantis not saying anything. He's trying to goad DeSantis into an argument. Even Jesse Waters was trying to do it tonight on Fox, where he was calling, saying DeSantis has to respond. Actually, no, DeSantis doesn't. DeSantis doesn't have to say anything, and which would be hilarious because if DeSantis doesn't even run, it just makes Trump look foolish.
Like an idiot, yeah.
And here's what it comes down to. I honestly believe that Donald Trump doesn't have a chance to win. And the simple truth is Joe Biden doesn't deserve a second term, but I believe that it will, as much as ignite the right to get out and vote that Donald Trump's running, there aren't enough people who are going to support Donald Trump, even if inflation's bad, even if the border wall isn't where it should be. The truth is the president very insignificantly impacts the general populace outside of taxes, outside of basic economic decisions, obviously wars, things to that effect. But you're more impacted by your state's governance than the president of the United States. And let's just be real honest. People despise Donald Trump. And it's not that I don't think he's a great president. It's not that I didn't think his policies were fantastic. I don't believe that he has done enough over the last 2 years to disassociate himself with the crazy. And I think he continues to push the crazy narrative, and it's turning people off in droves. If 27% of the population of Republicans say they'll vote for DeSantis, then you have at least a 5 to 7% of people who will not vote at all just because Trump's running. This is what happened with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. This is what happened with Jill Stein. This is what happened when you look at Clinton and Bush and Ross Perot. This is not a rarity. There's only about 5 to 7% of the population that's going to vote left, right, or center or indifferent. And you have to grab them as fast as humanly possible and have them come to your side. Because the thing is that the general election and the primary are two different things. The primary is all about running to your right or left corners, and it's all about being extreme left, extreme right, and getting your base riled up. Then you move to the middle the closer you get to October. So you start pulling in the libertarians and the middle of the road type people, blue collar Democrats, blue dog Democrats, fiscally conservative but socially liberal Republicans, things to that effect. And my worry is that Donald Trump is so far to the right, he has not demonstrated any opportunity to come back and bring it down the middle. And that's the thing he did extremely well in 2016. He was very pro-Republican, he was very conservative, but he also he dabbled with working across the aisle. He dabbled with having a centrist point of view on some things, especially around immigration. USMCA was a big push for him, which was a bipartisan bill. We have to remember he banned bump stocks. Donald Trump did some things in his presidency that were definitely not conservative. Even tariffs on China is not a conservative thing. Donald Trump hasn't been the middle in 2.5 years. 6 months before the election, he went to that far right side. Now, this whole thing about election fraud and stolen elections, and you can continue to care about that, talk about that all day long. The point is that America doesn't give a shit. Nobody cares. And how do I know that? Well, the facts are, and you can call in and disagree with me, 804-504-1955, is that you're looking at the primaries in 2022 where, yes, 240 some odd Republicans ran that Donald Trump endorsed, but these were people who were all going to win. So it's kind of like, you get, hey, man, bet on the third horse to place, see? And Donald Trump's like, okay, I'll bet on the third horse to place. And he did that 240 times. I'm talking about the 17, the real, thank you, the real big, yes, sugar cube. So the real big races, the 17, and this is the Kerry Lake, this is the Herschel Walker, Kemp run, these runs that were, Majewski up in wherever bumfuck who stole valor. These are the ones that had people around them that were talking about stolen election and January 6ers. And that's all they talked about. And they all lost and they all got their asses handed to them. And the people who talked about policy, who may also, like Eli Crane, who was down the middle of the road, who doesn't necessarily agree with the election, doesn't necessarily agree the way J6ers are being treated, but he ran on policy, won with flying colors. There was a repudiation for two sides. The extreme left and the extreme right lost their ass. The progressive socialists did not do well for the Democrats, and the alt-right / ultra-right did not do well either. This is my fear for Trump, is that he hasn't not disassociated himself, but he hasn't changed the course and moved into his presidential campaign. That's my fear with Donald Trump. DeSantis has consistently gone after the woke school unions, gone after Disney, opened up the state during COVID, went after California for keeping ships literally for 3 to 4 days out in the harbors, not unloading them because they didn't have the personnel because they wouldn't open up. And DeSantis is like, we'll take all you guys and we'll pay your fuel costs. DeSantis has done things that are palatable, that are real, and he's considered to be one of the best governors in the United States, even though there's people who hate him, but that's just the left. They hate anyone who's not them. He's extremely popular. And by Donald Trump going after him, by Donald Trump literally attacking his character and making fun of him, saying he's a sniveling, crying little bitch, essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to good for anybody. I've said it before. Donald Trump should take a back seat. He's too old. If Biden's too old, Trump's too old, let him sit back, let him run policy, let him do what Obama's doing. Obama's running the country right now. Let Donald Trump set policy, let him go out in glad hand, let him tour the country, go into these purple and red states and draw up support. He's great at that. Make him the head of the RNC. I don't care what you do. His policies are good, but you need a younger, fresher face to go against Biden. And it's very similar to Reagan versus Mondale. And the thing about that battle was that Reagan looked young and youthful, and Mondale didn't. You look at Nixon versus Kennedy on that debate stage. Nixon was wearing a brown suit and didn't have any makeup on, and Kennedy was in a navy suit and a big red tie, and it was black and white, but it made him look magnanimous and make Richard Nixon look sick, who did have the flu during that and had a very severe stomach bug. But the point is that it's all about looks and presentation. You look at DeSantis and Nikki Haley, they look like royalty. They look like the Kennedys. You put Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden, and it looks like a geriatric person who can't put two and two together, and freaking curtains in a Victorian home. Have you seen some of the shit that she wears? So if you want to make parody from a visual perspective, Nikki Haley and DeSantis and his wife and her husband and that whole nuclear unit gives you that old school Republican feel to it, and royalty and more Camelot. There is no Camelot with Biden. You take his policies and his popularity, Trump could literally turn every single Trump supporter towards DeSantis, because that's what they do. They mop it up and eat it. Now, all the Trump supporters right now are saying DeSantis is Soros bought and blah, 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 blah. The moment Trump would flip and endorse him, they all would shut up. That's just what they do. Do I think we should wait till 2028? I think it's a mistake. I think DeSantis has a chance, a very good chance. I think he's not as ready, but he can win. I think the gaps in Donald Trump far exceed the gaps in Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis will have a learning curve. He has no problem playing tough. The guy's a lawyer. He understands the art of the deal. He understands how to negotiate. I don't believe for a minute that he sniveled and cried to Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. I think he asked him for help, and Donald Trump's doing what Donald Trump always does and exaggerating, trying to make somebody look weak. That's my gut. I would like to see a Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis ticket. I think Haley is balanced. I think she can keep people in check. I think she gets the female vote. She gets the suburb vote. She brings the libertarians over because she's fairly a centrist. She's not a neocon. She's not a war hawk. Anyone who says that's an idiot, they don't know what they're talking about. These are the same people who want Tulsi Gabbard, one of the most progressive liberals in Washington, and you want her to run as a Republican, and it baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. She's for late-term abortion. She's for mail-in ballots. She's in for gun confiscation. Just go read her platform, and it reads literally like Elizabeth Warren met Bernie Sanders, and they had a Warrenders child. It's a little Ivan Warrenders, part of the communist tribe. So that's what I want to see. But if it is Donald Trump, then Donald Trump is going to have to change his tune. He is going to have to stop with this rhetoric and have a plan. And he should be going after Biden right now about gun confiscation and banning guns. He's not. He's nowhere to be heard. I've said more on this topic than he has. The moment Biden says anything, bam, it should be 100% Donald Trump's voice speaking out against it. And that's not what's happening. So that's my answer.
We have several questions.
I know, it's a long answer. I went on forever. I'm sorry.
All right. From Rumble, Uncle Stumpy.
Let's get ready to... Okay.
What's going on with the Supreme Court?
What's going on? You got to find it. What's going on?
Okay.
Hold on. You should have had that locked and loaded. What the hell, Liv?
I know.
Come on.
Oh my God, what's going on?
Okay.
All right.
What's going on with the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania changing voter registration laws and mail-in ballots?
All right. So be a little bit specific, because that's what happened in 2020. We saw it in 2022, then go back to the normal. So the Supreme Court of the United States is actually hearing at any day now in regards to mail-in ballots and the authority of judges to use emergency powers to go ahead and alter the constitution of the states. This is what happened in 2020. I've preached about it on the show religiously. If you have other information about Pennsylvania going back to it, I would like to know. But I will tell you this, is that the Supreme Court is specifically going to hear this to identify the constitutionality in federal elections. They can't do shit about Senate, state legislature, gubernatorial races, city council, school board. They can't do any of that crap. But they can focus on the way that the states handle the presidential elections. Now, each state is its own independent entity and can decide how they conduct their elections. However, there are certain rules that they have to follow based on the Constitution of the United States. So to answer your question, I'm not familiar. Unless you have something else, please call in and tell me. If you don't, I will continue to monitor the situation. But I do know Pennsylvania is one of the biggest culprits in the unconstitutionality of their actions when it came to judges changing state law and changing election law without state legislatures, which is against the law. Go ahead.
All right. Sandra Casey from Facebook. Who do you think will run if Trump can't?
Well, I think the usual suspects. I think you've got Mike Pence. I think Youngkin's going to throw his hat in the ring. I think if Trump stands down, then DeSantis is going to get tapped. I think the RNC will absolutely go to DeSantis and almost give him a mandate and say, you got whatever you want. You're the candidate, and this is your time. If Trump somehow stood down. Now, let's be clear. Trump's not going to stand down willingly. It'll have to be something that shows that his favorability is so low that the RNC comes to him and says, you can't run on the Republican ticket. That's where the primary comes in. And you'll see primary voting also depict. And here's the thing is, the reason why Trump is probably going to be the candidate is because I don't think the Trump supporters will allow him not to be. So if Trump enters a primary, I don't care how hard DeSantis runs, Trump's going to get it. So it's going to have to be that the national polls say in a head-to-head with Joe Biden or Newsom or Kamala or whoever Jeffries or whoever they decide to pick, and it's going to be Biden, you're going to lose based upon this information. First of all, Trump doesn't believe the polls. So as long as he wins the primary, he's going to be, see, look it, I've got the most votes out of any president in a primary. Yeah, but it's still not enough to win the national election. And that's the problem. I don't think Trump is going to willingly go. The only way I see Trump willingly doesn't run is that if he knows and realizes it's himself that it's going to be an embarrassment, if it will add more ridicule to the fire. That's the only way I see it not happening. And the problem that I have with that is that DeSantis in 2028 may be too late. Hold on. Oh, got it. So to answer your question, Glenn Youngkin, Mike Pence, I think you might see Pompeo put his hat in the ring as well. Hey, bud. I love you, buddy. Good night. Oh, here, give me. I'll give you a kiss. I don't give a shit what stupid viewers. You kissed a boy. Ooh, cooties. So anyway, I think when we're looking at, Nikki Haley, she's going in for vice president, right? Or part of the administration. She might be going in for Secretary of State. I could see her doing that. I could see her being chief of staff. Probably vice president is the best choice for her. I think it brings in the most votes. But you're going to see a plethora of people. I think Rick Scott's going to toss his hat in the ring. It really depends on what Trump does. But if his favorability and his ratings don't increase, he's in deep crap. Folks, if you haven't went over to the Dumb Show, you can go over to the Dumb Show. We've got a new mug in today. The Dumb Nation mug. Look at that. Everything is available. Shirts, hats, coffee, everything else. Go on over and take a look at thedumbshow.com. All right, what else we got? Okay, so Pamela says, Pamela says, Pence is a yellow-bellied traitor. Well, that's better than what people called him earlier today with no evidence. It's called him a pedophile. And I'm like, really? How do you know this? do you have any evidence? And they're like, oh yeah, my husband told me. And then I guess husband came home, and then they're like, whoops, nope, I was wrong. It depends why you call him a traitor. And I truly want to know why you're calling him a traitor.
I'm going to assume it's because of the whole voting thing, and he wouldn't change the vote even though he couldn't.
Well, that's my understanding. But here's where I have a problem with that. Is I don't mind you being upset at Mike Pence for, saying that he will now testify to January 6th committee, or that he kind of threw Trump under the bus by the documents thing and taking the story away from Biden. Okay, fine. He's playing politics, but I don't know what you expected him to do when it came to the election. Maybe you can enlighten me what you were anticipating. Did you expect him to do what exactly? Because you can go into Article 4, and there's no basis for him to overturn an election. He was simply there as a figurehead, and that's the way it's always been for that position. He doesn't have an authority whatsoever unless there is a motion on the floor for states to actually contest, and those states decided not. Now, 2 of them did, but it wasn't valid because it wouldn't overturn the election. Those states had absolutely no bearing on the conversation. And you need a certain amount of states to go ahead and contest before you do that. Folks, I don't know what you're looking for from Mike Pence, but calling him a traitor, I think is horribly disingenuous. He was loyal to Donald Trump. He stood up during COVID for Donald Trump. He stood on that podium and that dais every single day for 2.5, 3 hours. He absolutely went after both vice president candidates on the Democrat debates and destroyed them. He always spoke well of Trump, even through grab him by the pussy and everything else. He always had amazing presence when he was talking about Donald Trump and was fiercely loyal to him. I think you are being horribly judgmental, and your ire and your vindictive comments are completely misplaced. I do. I don't like Mike Pence either. I think Mike Pence is a religious zealot, and I don't like zealots. But a traitor, no. I think there's people in this. You use that word way too much. I don't like it. Traitor is somebody in wartime. We're not at war. Yes, we are. We're in a culture war. Okay, so for those people who've seen war, they're laughing at you. You need to stop. Mike Pence is not a traitor. Is he Magoo? Yes. Is he a zealot? Yes. Is he usually on the wrong side of things when it comes to social issues? Yes. But I also have to admire a man who won't put himself in a room alone with another woman out of respect for his wife. I've got to respect a guy that had bulldogged as hard as he did for Donald Trump and campaigned as hard as he did twice for Donald Trump. And I think your whole concept is off base and off kilter. That's my personal opinion.
She says she appreciates your opinion.
Yep. Well, it's not opinion. See, the difference is yours is opinion, mine's fact. There's nothing that I said that wasn't true. So unless you can tell me something in Article 4 or in any of the articles that grants power for the vice president to overturn an election based upon his word, I would love to see it, but I've read it backwards and forwards thousands of times, whether it's a thesis in school or whether it's on this show. And I'm not being disrespectful to you, Pamela. I respect your opinion, but this isn't an opinion. I don't do opinion unless I say it's an opinion. I'm just giving you the facts. Pence was extremely loyal to Donald Trump. Nobody can question that. He did exceptional in the debates. He never spoke ill of him in public. I don't know, until the end. And Pence was pissed because Trump called him out, and they had a noose on a frickin', and I don't care who put it there, and I don't care if it was the FBI or Antifa or whatever. Trump should have stood up and said, Mike Pence is a friend. Mike Pence has been fiercely loyal to me. I will stand by him, even though I don't agree with his decision. But someone putting him in the gallows is absolutely uncalled for, and it shouldn't. But Trump doesn't do that. Trump's not loyal. Trump wants loyalty, but he's not loyal to anybody. And that's the truth. And if you can give me an example of how Trump's been loyal to a person outside of veterans and the American people, but I'm talking about people he chooses to work with, people he chooses to have on his administration, peers or subordinates. That's what I'm talking about. Because I think Trump was extremely deftly loyal to veterans and all American citizens. All American citizens, doesn't matter who you voted for. I believe that every one of his policies was in the best interest for America. But he did not treat his administration and his subordinates and peers the same way. And anyone who says he does, I would love for you to tell me who in his administration is still his friend today.
All right. Jason, our boy Jason.
Jason Smith? Oh,
yes.
All right, go ahead.
I'm interested to know your take on the growing Syria-U.S. tensions.
Syria is always going to be a tension. It's been a proxy war for how long? Trump got out of it. We're back into it. That's the best kept secret in the U.S. government, is we're still funding contractors and weaponry over there. Trump's pulled out and stopped. Biden went right back in. I think Syria and the Middle East are the two hotbeds that ultimately are going to draw conflict in America into war anytime we get involved and allow ourselves to. Syria is a quagmire. Crimea was a quagmire. Ukraine is a quagmire. Afghanistan was a quagmire. These forever wars are because there's no exit strategy. There's no way to get in and get out, and there's no way to establish winning. Even the war on terrorism. Okay, we hit the caliphate, and all we did was spread terrorists all over the world. How do you cut the head off of a snake that doesn't have a head? This is very similar to Syria. This is very similar to Assad and the leadership in that territory. Is who do you replace it with? This is the problem we have with Iraq. This is the problem we have with Afghanistan, is if you constantly do regime change and try to go in and take over that country, it's not going to take. Democracy doesn't work. That is by far one of the greatest truths that I could tell you. Is we've tried to install over 29 different democracies around the world, and none of them have taken. Every one of them have failed, Russia being one. You can look at Brazil and South America. You can look all over where we have put in a democracy, and the difference between a democracy and a republic is the individual rights. And these countries, no matter who you put in power, very seldom focus on the individual and the people, and it always goes back to the autocracy and the oligarchs. It always goes back to the rich and the uber elite. And like Venezuela, they move back to, instead of focusing on the 50%, focusing on the 3%, and most of the power goes to the top, and so does the money and the food and everything else. And this is what you get. The United States is an abnormality. The fact that we have a representative democracy and a republic that actually worked in the world is shocking, because every other one has failed. And we will fail too. Don't kid yourself. We're not going to be at the top forever. We will get knocked down at some point by our own mistakes or our own ineptitude to recognize the true the true enemy of the United States. And whether that be ourselves or a cyber attack or a foreign country or a pandemic or whatever it would be, that's what's going to bring the United States down. And that, in my opinion, that's one of our biggest problems, is that we think that we are the best solution for every problem in the world. And I disagree. In fact, I think we're horrible. I think if you were going to take a small country, everyone should model Finland, Norway, Sweden. If you're a small country, if you want to do it, that's the way to do it. Big politics, big government doesn't work, and it's never worked. And the reason why it works in Finland and Sweden and Norway, and it doesn't, because there's a lot of problems there, and they tax the living shit out of their people, but it's effective because they have the roots of capitalism, and it's not a true socialist country. And every one of those countries will tell you they're not socialist. Socialism doesn't work, but neither does democracy, and that's the truth. It's failed everywhere we've put it. So when you're asking me about Syria, and that's a long way around the barn, I think the United States needs to get out of these countries. I think we should watch from afar. I don't think we need to be over there. I don't think our presence needs to be over there. I think we should be in and out of Ukraine. We've done our job. Now it's time to leave. Because ultimately, we are not going to support that war forever. because eventually the interest and the volume of dollars that we put into it will be so astronomical, we will have to put troops on the ground. That's what happened in Afghanistan. That's what happened in Iraq twice. If we continue to stay in Ukraine with a never-ending war that has no exit strategy and lines of delineation to pull out, we're going to get sucked in. We don't need another one of those with Syria. That's my opinion. Go ahead.
All right. So this is the last question I've seen. So if you have a question, call in or type it in the chat. Hey, Matt, what do you think about Trump and Haley, then Haley and DeSantis, and then DeSantis and someone else?
Okay, Trump and Haley, I've said it for a while, that's Trump's best chance. Because Haley has spoken out a little bit against Trump. And not, I mean, she challenged him on January 6th. She challenged him on the election stuff, and good for her. So have I. I've got no problem with that. It would be a good move for Trump because I believe Haley can stand on her own. She will not be Kamala. She will task like a mother for Trump. She will do the hard work and carry water for Trump. And I think she brings a the reason most people choose a vice president, because it brings a certain vote to the table. And that's why that's why LBJ was chosen by Kennedy. Fairly simple to bring in Texas and bring in, the larger cities in Texas and the South. You've got Kamala Harris was chosen because Joe Biden was absolutely getting demolished in the black vote. And the moment that you put her in there, no matter what you think her nationality is, it influenced it. Dan Quayle was to bring the uppity, rich elites and the younger generation of the new Republican Party that were moving in more to the religious side, the 2014 Tea Party type movement that was very religious orientated and America First orientation that you see now. That's predominantly what the Republican Party is. Every president picks a vice president that is going to garner them something. I mean, do you think Tim Kaine was picked by Hillary Clinton because of that he was white and old? Or do you think it's because he was fluent in Spanish? Do you think that he could bring Virginia and lock up the Northeast, which did not like Hillary Clinton very much? And especially some of the southern states like Virginia and Tennessee, which are considered the South, were very, very hesitant for an uppity pantsuit wearing short-haired Hillary Rodham Clinton. Tim Cano, Timo Cano brought in the Hispanic.
And he's not even.
He spoke Spanish. He would go to these places that Hillary Clinton didn't want to go, and he would speak Spanish, and people are like, oh my God, a white guy speaks Spanish. That's kind of having a Mexican in the office. Carrie says, oh, you want to read that?
I don't know.
Or do you have one? Do you have one for me?
Well, Amy just totally off topic, which honestly is great. She said, my main question for the day is why men walk past a restroom closed sign and my barrel that I used to block the door to get into the bathroom.
Well, because sometimes you got to go. And you're like, listen, I'm assuming every other guy didn't go in there. So if I leave a floater, there's not going to be one waiting for me because nobody moved this barrel. I'm going to go in, I'm going to drop a deuce in the toilet, and then I'm going to exfil and pop smoke. That's what they're thinking. So.
Yeah, no question is off topic.
No, I'll ask it all. Carrie says, what do you think of Zelensky telling the U.S. that we need to send our children to fight for them? It's not exactly what he said. And I did do a show on this, Carrie. I don't know if you saw it. Ultimately, what he did say is that it's in the best interest of Americans to support Ukraine because if you don't, Ukraine is going to join NATO for defensive purposes. Then that will draw the Baltic regions into the war and ultimately bring in NATO and then ultimately the U.S. And we would need to bring our sons and daughters. Now, I didn't like what he said. I think it was bullshit. I think Zelensky is a complete douchebag. I think Putin's a douchebag too. I don't have to like either of them. It's not a zero-sum game. Liberals are like, you have to love Zelensky. No, I don't. And right wing is like, oh, you have to love Putin. No, I don't. I don't have to like either of them. And I don't. I think Zelensky is an opportunist. I think he is an actor. I think he is a shill. Everyone says he's a hero. I don't think he's a hero. I think he's a guy who is in a conflict with Russia. I think he has done some pretty atrocious fucking things in the Donbass region and to the Russian citizens that were living in Ukraine territory. I think he should have addressed the Azov battalion. I think he should address corruption a lot sooner. I think he should address money laundering issues. I think he should have given Donald Trump exactly what he wanted against Joe Biden, because ultimately that was a national security concern. And the president of the United States is responsible for protecting the national security of the United States, or at least putting his Department of Justice on it and the State Department on it, which he did. But of course, everyone said it was a quid pro quo call, and that's a bunch of bullshit. It doesn't matter. It comes down to this, is Zelensky is in a long line of leaders in the Eastern Europe and Mediterranean states who needs American support against Russian aggression. And every time, whether it be Syria, whether it be Crimea, whether we have gotten involved in Iran, whether it's the Persian Gulf, whether it's Greece and funding the Afghans against Russia, whenever we get involved against Russia, it is a huge amount of money and resources and American lives that are lost. Always. From World War II, from the Cold War, all the way up until now, it's always these proxies of pushing against Russia and what they do for bringing themselves back to the expansion of Russia and the old day and the Bolsheviks of being the Iron Red Curtain. And I'll tell you, Russia's the one thing you got to love about Russia is that their motives never change. It's always the same. It's always to dominate Europe. And that is what Russia has always wanted to do. And that's why they expanded in Japan. The moment that the white flag went up and treaties were struck with the Empire of Japan, Russia was on the northern islands of Japan trying to take territory. MacArthur and Patton both said they wanted to go in right then at that point and go after Russia and turn the entire American industrial complex in Germany and in Japan towards Russia and take them from the eastern side and take them from the western side of Europe into Russia. Why? Because they knew Russia was going to be the next war, was going to be the next, stalemate or world war conflict. And they wanted to get ahead of it. And of course, they said no. America was tired of fighting. We know what happened with FDR. 4 terms was enough. The money, the amount of lives lost, all of this. In retrospect, it probably should have happened, but it didn't. But then the United States would be an empire, just like Japan, just like the Ottoman Empire, just like the Ming Dynasty, just like the English Empire, just like Greece, and just like Rome. And who knows where we would be. Anyway, that's my long ass answer. What else we got?
All right. Vicky wants to know, what do you think about the study of readiness of the seniors in high schools to be drafted or even possibly voluntarily signing up for the military?
I don't understand the question.
I'm just reading it.
I know, but I don't understand it, so read it again. My allergies
What
are
do
killing
you
me.
think about the study of readiness of the seniors in high schools to be drafted or even possibly voluntarily signing up for the military?
Okay, so are we talking about the readiness level of their ability to enter the military based upon the current requirements and curricula that the military is asking for? Or are you asking me for the state of readiness based upon an unwillingness of this generation to join the military? I need to know which one. Let's get back to that one until we get an answer.
Okay.
Pamela has one, yeah? Or someone else?
David wants to know, what about Candace Owens and Trump?
No. Candace Owens is the second most hated woman on the planet, and she is certainly the most hated black woman on the planet by African Americans. Candace Owens is right where she needs to be. Honestly, she needs to get off the Oprah talk show and go back to be a hard-hitting critic of leftist policy and being the strong voice she was. I really don't want to see the Tyra Banks show with Candace Owens on it. I haven't watched one of her. Well, I did. I watched the first show. I subscribed and then I canceled. I was like, this is shit. This is not Candace Owens. I want her to be the Bill Burr of politics. She is direct. She is a hard charger. When she's wrong, she can admit it. This new Candace Owens, who isn't wrong and is wearing pastel colors and shit, I don't. It looks like she's on the Home Shopping Network. And second, there's no way she can be vice president. She's not ready to be vice president. She doesn't have the skill set to be vice president. And she is a Trump and Candace Owens ticket is, that would be like Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton running. Okay. It's just not going to work. No, Candace Owens is not ready to be VP. But it's a good question. I'm not mocking you. I'm just saying no. Not a snowball's chance in hell. What else?
Right. Everyone be nice. This Gojia Pavic is calling people names, so you better stop. You're going to get booted.
Okay.
He said he or she, I don't know, said he was for Russia. So everyone, of course, is jumping on him. And then he just called Amy an idiot.
Well, that's okay. I mean, we can do that. Hold on. Let me Gosaya
Yeah.
Pavic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. That's a special ray of sunshine right there. Is that a fungus you're underneath? That is a huge fungus. What type of fungus is that?
It does. It looks like an umbrella.
It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like a tinder fungus. Is that what that is? Gosaya? Is that tinder fungus that you were underneath? Do you know? Which it has a density of cork, and it's an extremely dry, and its outer exterior is very tough. But using it, you can actually put a spark to it, and it will hold a spark and a flame and smolder for days. It's a great fire starter. So is that tinder fungus? Gosaya? Artist conch. Okay. Artist conch. I don't know what artist conch is. I mean, it very well could be a type of fungus, right? Hold on, let me look. Artist conch. Okay. Yep, it's a type of fungus. Fungi. The artist conch is a woody, semicircular brown. Okay, it's tinder fungus. Let me make sure I'm right, because I'm pretty good at this stuff. Survival training is coming back to me. Tinder fungus. Nope, not the same. But it's close. I mean, it looks really close, Gosaya. You should look at that. Come on. Tell me that's not pretty good. Tell me like, okay, I'm mildly impressed with this guy. I'm mildly impressed because that's very close except for the color, because that's what tinder fungus looks like. It has a real tough exterior, and you can pull that off, set a spark to it, or touch it to some coals, and that stuff will smolder like a cigar, and it can carry fire. You can take that miles. Little things you figure out. All right, Gosaya, I'm going to give you a chance. Let's everyone calm down, because I'm a real fun guy.
Wait. I didn't know you were going to do it.
Thanks.
There you go.
I'm a real fun guy. So she goes, Gosaya says, hello, asshole. Well, hello, bitch. Correction, pussy, cunt. I can do this too. I volunteered at the Davidson County Courthouse, and all those fucking kids were on hormones. Well, I'm sure they appreciate you calling them fucking kids. I lived in Nashville, 2018. Vanderbilt Hospital was doing weird shit with kids. You were doing weird shit with kids in a Nashville hospital? That's weird. I got in trouble for swearing at a Focus on the family marriage weekend, so I swore in Polish. All right. My type of girl. I tried calling the number. Oh, I'm sorry it didn't go through. You need balls to debate. Well, sounds like you've got a pair. But in this day and age, you can be a man if you want to. He is tired. Come on. Who's tired? I'm not tired. We have enough time to rise up a real party. My prophetic moment is done. It's called a honey shot. Taking a lot of those, I guess. All right. Gosaya says, I've waited 5 years for this. All right, Gosaya, if you want to try to call in, you can.
I'm going to have Hayden test it right now.
All right.
Since people say that we're having issues.
Okay.
All right.
Let me find out what's going on. And listen, I only talk to people like that who talk to me like that. So if we want to get down in the gutter, Gosaya, I'm all about it. I won't use Polish. Set a status. Let me try to set my status. There we go.
Is that Hayden?
I don't know. Let's find out. Thanks for calling the Don't Unfriend Me Show. This is Matt, and you're on live with the Don't Unfriend Me Dummies. Who are you, and what state are you from? Hold on. Hold on. I gotta get you on here. Hold on. Don't. Okay, go. Who is this?
Your daughter.
My daughter? Who's my daughter?
Oh, gee, I wonder.
And what state are you from?
Texas.
State of Texas.
I
I thought it was the state of denial.
Right no, no, I'm in Houston right now, and I can just somehow just see you. Hi.
You got to close the door. You got to close the door. Well, it's good to see you. Thanks, honey. I love you. Bye. Hi, you're on with the Don't Unfriend Me show. My name's Matt. That's Olivia. And what is your name and where are you from?
It's Gosha.
Gosha. Oh, it's Gosha.
Yes,
Is it Gosha or Gasha?
Gosha.
Outstanding. Beautiful name. Beautiful name. So what do you want to talk about?
Yes. All right. So I had this very weird experience. I was living in Nashville in 2018.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was living across from Vanderbilt University.
Right.
And I have really bad PTSD.
Where do you have PTSD from? And it's PTS, by the way, right? Because it's not a disorder. It's curable.
PTSDI.
Okay. All right. And what do you have PTS? What do you have PTS from?
Childhood.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. It's a hard thing. All right, but go ahead. You're in Nashville, across from Vanderbilt.
And I'm living in this apartment. I wound up there in a very embarrassing way.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's fine.
And I just felt overwhelmed that something bad was happening in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, does this happen a lot? Do you have moments of maybe not clairvoyance, but do you kind of sense things? My mom was one of those, and she would sense things before they would happen. Do you think maybe?
Yeah. All right. Yes. Okay. And I had to fight it.
Yeah. So, okay.
And I just carried the pain, and
Sure.
I kept praying, and I kept praising God, and like, all right, everything's happening for a reason.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I just like, whatever. And I just hung out there. And I've been trying for the last 5 years to express what happened to me.
Right.
Because I'm just like a mom. I'm just a mom from Chicago.
Yeah, I understand. So let me ask you a question. What did that have to do with my balls?
I wanted to get your attention. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you got it. Well, you could have just said, "Hey, Matt."
I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. I really don't care. You could have said, "Hey, Matt, I wanted to talk," but talking about my balls. No, talking about my balls always gets my attention. It's fine. I talk about them all the time, right, Liv? So,
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, is there something specifically you wanted to talk about tonight, or did you just want to get my attention? Did you just want to get my attention, or was there a comment you wanted to make or a question that you had? I'd love to kind of find out where your mind's at.
I just want to get your attention. Sorry.
My attention has been gotten. Congratulations.
Yes.
You got it. Well, thank you for calling, ma'am, and I appreciate you. And hey, stay in our chat and hang out with us. What do you think, since you are a Pole, how do you feel about Vladimir Putin in Russia? Why are you defending him if you're Polish?
All right. This is the thing that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
The plastic. In 2016, I was working with dementia patients, and I had to get all this. I had to get all this like information to work with the dementia patients. All this information.
Okay.
And then I started thinking, like, what would cover a neuron? I'm like,
right.
Like
yeah.
Plastic.
I'm with you. I'm completely got it. Okay, so I'm not going to get an answer about Poland and Russia.
Yeah,
that's fine.
no.
All right. Well, God bless, and I hope everything works out, especially with PTS. It's very serious. Are you getting counseling right now?
Yes, I am.
Is it working, or is it a waste of time?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Good.
because I had the courage to call you guys. Like, that's the thing. The PTSD caused me to become like isolated.
Well, sure. It's one of the effects.
Yeah, it sucks. So this actually is a beautiful expression of me getting out of my shell.
Well, I'm glad you are, and I'm glad we could, and I'm glad we taught each other a little bit about fungi. And were you mildly impressed that I? No, not at all.
Well, I'll have to go through everything, but yeah, this is
because
really
I saw it in your picture, and I recognized. And I didn't do too bad. But anyway, ma'am, it's been fantastic talking to you. Thanks so much for calling the Don't Unfriend Me show. You call in
thank you,
anytime.
guys.
We would love to have you on, okay?
All right. Peace, love, joy, Jesus.
All
right.
those things.
Bye, guys.
And, all right. Soft, wet kisses on all your pink parts. Holy shit. So phone lines are open, everybody. And listen, you guys don't need to you guys don't need to attack the trolls. Just do that. Why does it always have to be about politics? Why does it have to be about anger? Why can't we just, have a conversation? She's sweet, nice lady. She's just screwing around, and that's why we got to relax.
Sometimes we got to have fun, and it doesn't always have to be such a serious conversation.
No, you can just have a good time. I mean, not everything. We're not going to solve everything tonight. You're not going to solve it on one show. That's why, I know Twitter, this post is going viral. I know it's going viral. It's and I'm terrified to go back because people are just destroying each other over this thing. And I feel horrible. Oh yeah, it's getting.
I don't have Twitter, so I can't see it.
Yeah, people are upset.
We have a couple more questions if you would like to take.
Yeah, throw them my way. I was just looking at Twitter and how it's getting blown up. Go ahead.
All right. Any thoughts of China brokering a peace in Middle East and now Saudi Arabia, thinking if using China's currency for oil? And he has a second part. Oh, and Brexit, we don't have a seat at that table. Where does that leave us now?
Well, Brexit is where Brexit's always been. Listen, the European unions don't even know where the hell they are. They can't even decide on a prime minister. So I'm not going to sit here and get involved in European politics, especially when England and Britain are involved. I don't give a shit. Just going to be honest with you. I don't care. I believe that we spent plenty of time, money, and effort to never listen to the English again and not care about what they have to say. So that's number one. So I really don't have an opinion on Brexit. I don't care. Saudi Arabia is just pontificating and trying to gain leverage on the United States to replace our currency base from American dollar on our petroleum oil investment and our dollar being attached to the oil in Saudi Arabia. And honestly, I believe that's because Joe Biden has created relationships with Saudi Arabia, which are extremely tense. And the one thing you don't do with the Saud princes is make it a dick measuring contest. I mean, these are people who ride and invest in ungodly amounts of gaudy vehicles. They put gold fleece on their camels, for God's sakes. These people are not, they're not alpha, but they are extremely ostentatious and proud. And if you're going to screw with Saudi Arabia, you're going to have to be careful. Now, I understand when they start killing journalists off, or they have most of the attackers on 9/11 be Sauds. I can see why there's tensions around Saudi Arabia, but there's a reason why Bush sucked up to them. There's a reason why Trump gave them weapon systems, is because our currency is attached, and it's economically a good idea to be in bed with Saudi Arabia, because although they are not the most, when it comes to socially, they are in medieval times when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to gays and lesbians. We have Israel, which is one of the most advanced countries when it comes to acceptance of different religions, different sexualities and choices, and extremely social. Israel was one of the first Middle Eastern countries, and in that area, to accept the LGBTQ community. So they're very advanced when it comes to don't judge others unless they're Hezbollah or the Palestinians. But that's, you can't breed that shit out in a generation. I think Saudi Arabia is a necessary evil partnership that we should continue, because instability in the Middle East is not what we want to get involved in. That's my personal opinion. That's it.
All right. Pamela, does anyone police young men who do not register for the military in case of drafting?
Okay, I wanted to. Is that an expansion on the question that I already got about the military readiness?
It's a different person.
Ask it again.
Does anyone police young men who do not register for the military in case of drafting? Oh,
so you're talking about if you don't register for the draft? Yeah, I mean, you get a registration about 6 months. This is posthumously from Vietnam. is you register for the draft. Usually you get a notification about 6 months before your 18th birthday. And then your responsibility is to register as an 18-year-old American citizen, whatever, for the selective service. If you don't register for the selective service, there's various things that can happen to you. So let me show you what. And I think it's all punitive. It would ultimately lead to jail time, but I think you can't get a license at the DMV. You can't fly on planes. There's several things government-wise that you can't do. So here's what it is. What happens if you don't register for selective service? If you're required to register and you do not, you'll not be eligible for state-based student aid in many states, federal job training, or a federal job. You may be prosecuted and face up to fines of $250,000 and jail time up to 5 years. And I know some states do that where you can't get a driver's license. If you have any type of legal issues, you can't get state or federal representation, pro bono or from public defender. There's a lot of things you can't get. Yeah, they essentially they make your life a living hell until you register. So to answer your question, there's your answer. What else?
All right. Who do you think will be able to fix the mess that this administration has created?
Time. Time heals all wounds. So, the United States is not a place that it hasn't been before. It's been weak before. It's had a weakened dollar before. Geopolitically, it's been in a quagmire before. It wasn't very popular during the Bush years. Once you think how many nations, the coalition of nations for Iraq, OIF, and the support we got. I mean, it was like the Congo supported us, and that was like our biggest. Canada, England, the Congo, and that was it. There was nobody else. I mean, it was just like this coalition of forces was pathetic. And the first one, it was everybody. The second one, no. And we've been in down times before. We went through the housing crisis under Obama. We went through Jimmy Carter years where we were doing lottery for gas. We went through the Great Depression. We've had multiple recessions and fluctuations in where we stand from a geopolitical sense and an economic sense. We will survive. I mean, that's what I will say. Now, who can get us out? Well, you're not going to like my answer. So I'm going to give you my answer. Who can get us out? A very moderate Democrat or a moderate fiscally conservative Republican. Moderates do well. Bill Clinton was a moderate, but he cut defense spending, and that's how he ultimately got a surplus. He splintered the military, which was a horrible thing. It was the worst thing Clinton did. Otherwise, he was a great president. Nothing wrong with Bill Clinton. Yeah, he got diddled on the desk, and he put a cigar somewhere he shouldn't have. Do we have a cat sound? But no, it's okay. We don't. So, do we? I don't think we do. Ow. Okay, there it is.
No cat sound.
It's fine. So, Bill Clinton was a good president, except for what he did to the military, which makes him a bad president, but was fairly moderate in his presentation and what he did. Reagan was not fiscally conservative in any way, shape, or form. He spent a shite ton of money. So Reagan's not the answer. Obama's not the answer because it was literally just quid pro quo, status quo, flat, no growth, no shrinkage, just meh for 8 years. Donald Trump proved that you can boost the economy with strong, effective policies, aggressive negotiations. Nixon is a prime example who's very good about this with foreign affairs. You need a moderate Republican who's fiscally conservative, and you need a moderate blue-collar Democrat who would invest in infrastructure and jobs. And the Democrats are fantastic at social policy and infrastructure, usually more at-home type investments and buildups. And Republicans are extremely strong at defense and global geopolitical situations and keeping America at the forefront of leadership in the world. Now, that's not a globalist perspective, but it's using the right amount of military might and the right amount of economic power to garner respect. And Republicans are renowned for this. Sometimes it gets us into trouble, but you need both. And nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear that you need Democrats and Republicans in order to get us out of this mess, but you do. And until these two parties can stop playing grab ass and stop playing king of Twitter and queen of Facebook and start focusing on their fucking jobs and doing what they're elected to do, which is represent their constituents, and to engage in debate and create legislation that truly has meaningful change that's wanted by the people, we're never getting out of this. That's it. So that's the answer. It's not a person that's going to do this. If we're waiting for some magical prince to save us in our cat, it's not going to happen. We're in a dungeon. There is no prince. The only thing that's going to save us is to bring back debate to this country. That's fervent leadership towards the people, and to stop frivolous spending and overreaching executive orders that limits the influence of the citizens of this country and exemplifies the corruptible power of our government. That's it. There's no other secret to this. I mean, it's just like gun control. It's not the answer. And just like having unfettered access to guns isn't the answer. There's multiple situations. If you want to stop school shootings, you got to address school shootings. Okay. What are the soft spots? The soft spots, they're kids. They're not defensible. Okay. You got to defend them. So there's number one. That's number one. You can't get rid of guns. There's 450 million of them. You're not going to get rid of all the guns. You're not going to get rid of hammers and knives and cars and propane tanks and cyanide. You're not going to get rid of any of that. So what is the problem with school shootings? The kids, they're vulnerable. So no longer have them be vulnerable. How do you do that? Well, you limit the amount of soft targets and soft spots on a school. One is multiple entry and egress points. You limit the amount of how many doors are open. You have to have a system that can lock down all doors and that are impenetrable. You don't have glass where a human can fit through. You don't have the glass on the side of the door handle or the locking mechanism. You make them magnetic locks, and with one button, everything gets locked down. And anybody who is in any of those areas incapacitated is trapped, period, until the lockdown's over. You don't get in or out. You have a person posted there, and you have a QRT, quick readiness task force, quick response team, however you want to say it, ready to go. 2 to 3 officers, locked, loaded, ready to rock and cock in flak jackets that are not seen but felt. And then you have one entry point to that school during work hours, and you have an armed guard there, and then it won't feel like a jail. You don't need metal detectors. You don't need that shit. And you take away the threat at schools. That's solved. That can be done tomorrow. And that can be done with the $150 billion fucking dollars that California got for COVID relief and all the other school systems did. They can use that money to bring veterans on, or do this, give them a tax credit. Donate 10 hours a month as a veteran and watch from 9 till 10:30, then pop smoke, and then do that once a week and have veterans come in who are qualified, certified warriors, operators, or trained to do this. You make it a military style situation and you protect the schools. It's what Israel does. You don't think the Jews understand how to stop school bombings? Do you understand what everyone says, it's only in the United States this happens. People are fucking morons. They have no idea what they're talking about. They've never been to another country. They have no idea. Sure, it may not be guns and mass shootings with civilians, but they have other threats. They have pipe bombs. They have knife attacks. They have people go ahead and take over semi-trucks and run them through people. You have drug lords, you have ISIS, you have terrorist groups, you have poison gas. If you would just stop and really use your freaking head and go ahead and type in terrorist attacks around the world, there's thousands of them a year. Thousands. But because they're not using AR-15s, we pretend that there's no violence overseas. You're completely insane. It happens all over the world. It doesn't matter what country you're from, there's violence. And if there's not any violence, we can look at Sweden, which aborts even the early signs that a child might be, by a certain percentage, have Down syndrome. They abort the baby. Forced government mandate. So they're doing shit that's not necessarily copacetic to societal norms either. At least they're not as bad as the Democrats. So to sit here and say there's not violence, it's insane. But if you want to stop the school shootings, that's what you do. Okay, that's it. That's what you do. Full stop. And honestly, you got a box that's on a wall that's got yourself a Glock 40 cal 6-hour HK, which has hollow points, hydroshock rounds, and you put that thing up there for every teacher to be able to grab. And when you push that lock button in that emergency situation, those unlock with a code from the teacher. So they're safe, that no kids are going to gain access, and that teacher can have something to protect themselves. Because trust me, every single teacher, no matter how freaking holier than thou they are right now, we can't arm the teachers. That's horrible. Ban guns instead. Every single one of them want a gun. Sandy Hook, they wanted a gun. Nashville, they wanted a gun. I promise you, I can never talk to those people because they're dead and it's a shame. But even the 9-year-olds and the 8-year-olds, and God bless every single one of them, it makes me want to cry. I guarantee you the thing they wanted, they didn't want God, they didn't want their mommy, they wanted a gun. They wanted a weapon to defend themselves, because even the youngest child on the world knows what a gun is and what it does, at least 5 and up. We are a gun culture. They understand what it is. And every single one of those kids wish they would have had a gun so they could give it to the teacher, or they could have at least tried to defend themselves. And that's the truth.
I'd feel more comfortable if our kids' teachers had guns.
Like I said,
wouldn't have an issue.
Put it in a lockbox, stick it up on the wall, make it tied to the emergency lockdown system. Otherwise, that you cannot open them, you can't get to them. And then I don't even care if that teacher has training. I would rather have somebody with a weapon who has no training, who accidentally, God forbid, would hit a kid or two, but could kill the shooter, than have nothing, because they're going to die anyway. And that's the harsh reality of this, is people are like, it's not our job. Yeah, your job isn't.
It is your job as a teacher. You're taking care of my child throughout the day, so it is your job.
Well, your job's not to die either, right? I mean, so that's the argument. Your job's not to die either. Let's be honest. I just don't understand this argument. Okay, you don't have to like guns. You don't have to love guns. You can blame guns for everything, but in the end, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a gun. And we're not going to ban all the guns in the world. It's just not going to happen. Because you can't stop drugs. Do you know let me tell you what's going to happen. This is what will happen. The cartel will start running guns. Venezuela, South America, Mexico. Do you know how many guns they have that were dumped on them from all the wars the United States have had? Do you know how many guns Obama gave Mexico? Do you know the moment that we ban guns and get rid of every one of them, there will be guns coming across the border for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a pop. It will become the new cocaine of the United States. It'll be a whole new crime wave, a whole new effort. Gangs will be involved. The guns that are in the inner cities will be sold. You will start seeing crime rise up to a level you just don't even understand. America has a gun problem. Our society is woven around it, and there is no way to get around it. But it's also our salvation, too. It's what protects us from foreign. Everyone keeps talking about hunting and protecting us from the government and sport. You know what I like about having my gun? It keeps froggy fucking countries who want to invade us at bay. That's what it does. And that's the main reason I have it, to be honest with you, is to ensure that if shit goes down with a foreign country, that I can join and and go up into the mountains and create as much havoc as I can on an opposing army that comes into the United States. Because I've read history. Every single major country, major empire, major world power in world history has been conquered by a foreign country. Every one of us. Native Americans bid it here. What if every Native American had a weapon, had a rifle, Winchester rifle? What would have happened? Would it have been different? The ones that did lasted to the end. I'm just saying, the ones that weren't killed by typhoid and yellow fever and European diseases had weapons, had gunpowder, had bullets. They're the ones that lasted till the end. Go look at Sitting Bull's crew. They're all rocking Winchesters, man. So I don't know what to tell you. I look at MacArthur and what he did for the Philippines. The Philippines is the reason why we're not speaking Japanese on the West Coast. The Philippines allowed and had the watch islands that would predict and see all the Jap Zeros and the aircraft carrier movements. Those Philippine islands created guerrilla warfare on all the Japanese bases. It stopped them from taking those islands, which were pivotal watch points for throughfare into the Sea of Japan and into Chinese waters and Japanese waters, all through Australia, through the Indian Ocean. They made a huge impact in stopping the Japanese advancements. And if they would have gotten the Philippine Islands, we don't know where we would be. Those guerrillas held off the Japanese army with what they did. So do I think we can fight drones and tank? No, of course not. But do I think you can wreak havoc on an opposing army for people who know how to do it? People understand combat tactics. People understand how to interrupt supply chains, how to logistically cripple armies. Yeah, there's enough military here in the United States, 20 million of us, that can do some damage no matter what age we are. And having them armed is a good thing. So I'm not going to sit here and play semantics on being armed or not armed. There's no argument to me. These handful of shootings that happen, these mass shootings, are terrible. Yes, thousands die every year from suicide. But let's face it, mass shootings, these you see all around, there's 5,000 in the last 10 years. Most of those are gangland shootings. 3 or more people shot is a mass shooting. That happens every weekend in Chicago, 20, 30, 40 times, where 3 or 4 people at a party get shot at the same time. That's a mass shooting. Those are predominant. When people want to talk about mass shootings, yes, it happens and it's terrible and it's horrible. Yes, and it sucks and it's bad. But for people to say that that's an AR-15's fault, where that number of mass shootings that do take place, only 12% of those involve an AR-15 in any way, shape, or form. Most of them are handguns. It's disingenuous for us to say we need to ban assault weapons. What they mean and what they're saying is ban semi-automatic weapons. Period. End of story. Plain and simple. They want semi-automatics, which is 84% of all weapons are semi-automatics. They want our weapons. They want our guns. And anyone who says they don't, you're not reading Joe Biden's policy on whitehouse.gov. Go do it. Go read his proposal. He wants semi-automatic weapons. Period. End of story. All of them. It's the way this works. Got anything else?
Yeah, there's a couple. So besides Haley, Pompeo, and DeSantis, we don't have that many strong conservative options.
Sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we have Rick Scott. I think Rick Scott is a big choice. Glenn Youngkin is prolific, good guy. I question some of his decision making, but I'm not happy with every single politician available. There's a lot of young talent in the Republican Party. Noem, N-O-E-M. I have a problem saying her name. Noem from Montana, right? One of the Dakotas, wherever she's from.
I think she's South Dakota.
Whatever. So there's talent. It's a hell of a lot more than Democrats. Who do the Democrats have? Kamala Harris, Joe Biden,
Buttigieg.
and Buttigieg and Whitmer, and Newsom. Newsom doesn't even want to run. So listen, it comes down to this. We're probably going to have Donald Trump run. I don't think he can win. Sorry. And it's not me being disloyal and negative. I'm just being honest with you.
He's rubbed people the wrong way.
He's pissed off too many
He's
people.
rubbed me the wrong way.
He's pissed off too many people.
Yep.
Too many people. What else we got, Libby?
What do you think about digital currency?
It's the same thing I think about paper currency, is who's in charge of it. I like having physical money, but none of us have physical money anymore. We already have digital currency. I mean,
I never have cash in my wallet.
anyone who
My
says that
debit
we're
card.
not already a digital currency, I don't know what they're talking about. So unless you have gold or silver or something, diamonds, something that's materialistic that has equitable value, you're on digital currency right now. I don't know. I don't know why people are making such a big deal about this. They're like Bitcoin, blah, blah. I'm like, that's what we've got now. I understand it's not tied to the banks. I understand that it's supposedly yours. One big EMP, we're all fucked. Whether you have Bitcoin or whether you have a bank, I don't care. I want to make the best decisions that I can with liquid assets. And in my eyes, the richest people in the world during a certain point in society will be the person who has access to antibiotics, a person who has access to iodine tablets, a person who has access to gunpowder, a person who has access to water and food and MREs, a person who has access to hypodermic needle, person who has access to a pair of ruby red binoculars that can tune in for a mile, person who has a high-powered rifle, a bow. I mean, that to me, that's the richest people in the world. It's not going to be about money. It's not going to be who has the most gold and diamonds, because there's always going to be someone who can take it. So what do I think about digital currency? I think it's exactly like it is now. I think it's an effort in complete false security, and it's all ones and zeros, and it's fake. That's what I think. What else?
Do you think DeSantis would become a rhino?
No. Well, yes, because every single Trump supporter believes that anybody who's not Trump is a rhino. So yeah, I think everyone will call him a rhino. They're calling him a rhino now. Do I believe he'll go up against conservative policy? Sure, sometimes. And I would expect him to, because that's the problem, is that people think that if you don't toe the line exactly across party lines, that you're a traitor. I don't agree with that. I think that they should represent the constituents, but the president of the United States has no loyalty to the people. I want to say that again. The president of the United States isn't the president of the people. Y'all understand that, right? He's not your president. He's the governor's president. He's the governors of all 50 states. He essentially is the boss of the governors, and the governors report to him. And the president makes decision on the council of the governorships of those states. He's not your president. I hate when people say, he's the president of the people. No, he's not. The governor is the president of the people. He's the president of your state. The president of the United States does not have to do what you want. The president of the United States does what's in the best interest of the United States, which may be absolutely antithetical to what you want. That's the truth. And the more people realize that, the more they'll back off the president and realize that there's some decisions that you may not like. And he doesn't give a fuck, and he shouldn't. Because his job is to protect the country from a national security standpoint, to protect the sovereignty and to protect the citizens of these United States, and to enforce the laws of this country. And some of those things you may not like. Who cares? That's why people are like, Joe Biden's not my president. Yeah, he is. He's your president as much as he is your president. You know what I'm saying? He's not your president as a person, a citizen, but he is the president of the United States. And whether you like that or not, I don't care. It's the truth. Just like Donald Trump was all the liberals' president, even though he's not my president. Yes, he was. But he doesn't represent you. That's not his job. That's your state representative. That's your senator. That's your city council. That's your mayor. That's your sheriff. That's your county clerk. The president of the United States does not represent the people of the U.S. He represents the states. And the states are a completely different thing than the people. You guys got to get that shit out of your head. So do I think DeSantis will be a rhino? Sure, I think people call him a rhino. But he's not a rhino. He's not a Republican in name only. The guy's got a 94% Republican voting record across the board. So does Dan Crenshaw, and everyone hates him. Judge Janine said that she supported red flag laws today. Is she a rhino? Because I got to be honest with you, I want to figure out how we don't encroach upon people's freedoms and privacy and figure out if they're homicidal and want to kill people, how we get those medical records so we can say, you don't get a gun. Because I don't think crazy people should have a fucking gun. Do you? Do you think a person who has said, I want to kill people should have a gun?
No.
No. I don't either. Because we don't let felons have a gun. We don't let murderers and rapists have a gun. Why the fuck would we allow somebody who wants to do those things to have a gun? It's Minority Report, Matt. No, it's not. No, you are a danger to society. You don't get a gun. Sorry. You want a gun? Sure, here's a gun. Here's a dart gun. You can hold on to this. If you hurt anybody or put an eye out, you're going to prison. I don't know. I don't believe in red flag laws. I am an avid Second Amendment, but I don't believe that everyone should have a gun no matter what. I completely disagree. I think it's the dumbest thing we've ever. Criminals don't have guns. If you're an illegal in this country and you're not an American citizen, you have no right to a gun. They have them. But we've got to figure out how we can separate gun grabs and conscious, smart decisions that protect American citizens. And homicidal maniacs should not have a gun. People who are suffering from mental disorder should not have a gun. Now here's the question. Now here's the ever-living question. A lot of people would say, well, if you're going through hormone replacement therapy, like someone who's transitioning, they shouldn't have a gun. Well, guess what? I take testosterone. So should I not have a gun? My wife suffered from postpartum depression. Should she not have a gun? See, this is the slippery slope. And this is why most people say, you know what? No, you can't do this, because where do you draw the line? And I agree with them there, but we've got to figure it out. How about this? How about the FBI does their fucking job? How about the FBI, when they get these early warnings, that they actually do something about it? Where were the parents? Where were the friends who she went to and said that she was thinking about going out and taking people out with her? Why didn't they call the cops? Why aren't these people held accountable? And they may not be criminally negligent, but they're culpable at least for not saying anything. We have to do better. And Republicans have to stop drawing a line in the sand and saying, nope, it's just as bad as abortion with the left. Nope, all babies die, no matter what. And we're like, all guns, no restriction. There already are restrictions. There's 26,000 pieces of legislation that's sitting on Capitol Hill over the last 75 years that have the word gun in it. There are 2,600 proposed alterations to our current rights that has gun in it right now. There's over like 700 different laws currently on the books that limit the Second Amendment. Folks, if you think that we've been free with guns and we have a freedom with firearms, then you should go look back till 1937 before you want to start saying that shit. Just like the First Amendment, every single amendment, every single right in the Bill of Rights has been altered in one way or another, except for one. Do you know which one?
No.
The quartering of troops. So if the English decide to invade and those cheeky bastards across the pond decide to come over here and quarter troops in our homes, we can say nay.
You sound like Handsome Rob.
Handsome Rob, I need your badge. I need your shirt. I need you to give it to me now. You got it, Handsome Rob. I need your shirt.
Not the best
I
of
need
movies,
your badge.
but that's a good part.
And I need your keys right now. Here you go. We got to get that line. So we need to understand is that, yes, I'm with you. I don't want limitations on speech. I get all that. I don't want limitations on my guns and everything. But we do need to understand that there has to be some give and take, because that's what our government's about. And it goes back to what I said. Who can stop all this? The people who can reach across the aisle and make balanced decisions and get these two frickin' parties to actually start talking and stop this bullshit grab ass, where it's literally 4 years of whoever's in power gets the podium, and the rest of the 4 years during that time, you have one sucking hind tit and playing blocker to every policy that comes through. It's got to stop. We're just spiraling out of control. And honestly, we deserve to fall. If we're doing this in 20 years, someone deserves to take us over. China, come on in and take us out. Because this is an effort in futility. We will never, ever get out of this quagmire. And eventually one of these countries is going to be like, fuck these guys. We're done. The United States is no longer necessary for our country. And when Russia and China are saying we're going to move forward like we haven't in 100 years, like manifest destiny, we're going to kind of change the way things are done. Well, and then you got Saudi Arabia talking about money. Well, that's people alienating and ostracizing the United States out from the global decisions in the world. And when that happens, that is our systematic end. And if that takes place, then you might want your guns, don't you think? The United States has to be a part of the conversation. We are a world leader, whether we like it or not. I'm not saying we have to be a police state, but we need to be involved in every decision that happens in the world, period. I'm not saying we have to go to war. I'm not saying we have to go ahead and put money places, but we need to be on the at the table. We're not at the table anymore. Saudi Arabia is making its own decisions. Iran and Russia are making decisions. China and Russia are making a decision. North Korea is making decisions with China. India is now flirting with, saying, fuck you, Pakistan, and letting off a few Roman candles again like they used to in the 80s. We are in a very bad position globally. And if we don't pull our heads out of our ass and start solving our problems in our own country, we are never going to be any good to the world. And once that happens, we become obsolete. And when we become obsolete, that's when we need to worry. That's all I got for tonight. I appreciate everybody for being on. Okay. What is her? Gosia? Gosia?
Gosia or something.
Gosia, get off Amy's ass. Okay? Just like people were getting on your ass, just please get off her ass. Amy is been here since almost day one. She is a very popular person. She's sweet as pie. You said some shit, so own it and move on. But if it comes down to you and her, there ain't no fucking question. 7 days until Sunday. So knock it off, play nice, or you're going away. Okay? Get off her ass. And for someone with PTS, you should also understand that you're in a place that is kind of a safe haven for people with PTS. You should show some respect. Okay? So get off Amy's ass, or I'm going to punch you to Poland. All right.
We had one more if you want to answer.
Yeah, quickly. Go ahead.
We need someone that is
12 inches.
We need someone that is willing to cut the size of the government. Do you see a person like that?
It's not just the size of the government. I don't think the size of the government's the problem because, unfortunately, you got 332, 34 million people in this country. You need a big government, unfortunately. The days of small government are over. What you need is fiscal responsibility. And that's the difference, is we have to learn to say no to some things. So, do I believe we need the FCC? Sure. Do I think we need the DEA? Yeah. Do I think we need ICE, the FBI, CIA, the National Reconnaissance Office, the United States Marshal's Office, Department of Homeland Security? I think we're getting a little excessive. Do I think we need a few 100,000 federal employees just in DC alone? No. So what I want to do is I don't want to limit the size of the government so much as I want to limit the spending and the power of the government, which goes hand in hand. I truly believe there's a lot of waste in the government, and we should start there. Do I believe that there's anybody who is going to cut spending? How about this? How about we don't cut spending? We put it in the places we truly need it, and we have someone give us a surplus so we don't have to fucking care. Donald Trump did that. Donald Trump spent more than any president in the last 100 years. But guess what? Guess what? He also made more. And that's why he did not contribute to the deficit. He's ranked number like 11 or 10 out of all the presidents who contributed to the national debt and the deficit. He's not even in the top ranking. Bill Clinton is ahead of him. Obama's ahead of him. Both Bushes are ahead of him. Reagan's ahead of him. And the reason why is because Donald Trump had a surplus based upon the decisions he made, and the amount of growth that we had ultimately negated what he spent. So go look at that. Now, you're not just looking at debt. You got to look at growth too. And that's important, right? Because that's like saying, holy shit, we spent $2.5 billion in marketing at Apple. All right, let's go home. That's the most we've ever spent for the iPhone 14, $2.5 billion. That is $1 billion more than Steve Jobs ever spent. Let's go home, turn off the lights. Right, but hold on a second. We made $140 billion. So we had a 7% ad spend? Well, that's not too bad. See, there's a big difference. So you got to look at all the numbers. You don't just look at the deficit. You look at ultimately the spend, the deficit. You look at the overall revenue taken in. You look at taxes taken in. You look at foreign investments. You look at our investments. You look at all the overall income that the government takes. And then you compare it to what you spent. And then you balance the sheet and you find out whether you had a good year, a good quarter, or a bad year or a bad quarter, period. It's just like any business. Donald Trump was renowned for that. So instead of shrinking, how about we expand the growth and unleash the potential of this economy by investing in small business, deregulating large corporations that are pulling Ma Bell and Southern California Edison, like Comcast, like Charter, like AT&T and Time Warner, and fucking slap those areas and get them out of the monopoly. Because here's the thing. The reason why they're a monopoly is because they're not segmenting the entire United States. They're taking over entire territories like Texas. The only thing Comcast has is Houston. It's surrounded by AT&T stores and towers and everything else. It's getting worked. And then you've got Time Warner, which is New York. Then you've got Charter, which is like trying to come in and trying to compete and can't. You've got companies like Google that are too big to fail. Apple, which is too big to fail. We have got to limit the size of these corporations that literally stop innovation, because all they do is when someone has a great idea like AI or open AI, it's bought up by Bill fucking Gates, one of the most evil people in the world. I don't care how much he gives. You have Amazon comes in and buys, Microsoft buys Sea Dragon. You have Apple come in and buy Beats. And what they do is, instead of these companies let them grow and let them create jobs, they stifle them and they buy them and they take their product and they don't let anything happen. Innovation can't happen. You can't get several designs down the road, decades worth of progression from these companies that can develop faster, smarter, and better if they were allowed to simply grow. You've got to limit the corporations. You've got to limit the stranglehold that they have on this economy by stifling small business. You have to stop the regulation on small business. You have to let mom and pops fail and rise and ebbs and flows. They control what happens in the United States. They control our growth. And the moment that you start leaning on Walmart and Southwest Airlines and Apple and Google, you are setting us up for failure. We learned this with the stock market crash. We learned this with housing crash. We learned this with the savings and loan scandals. Wake up, people. Too big to fail is never good for America. If Apple has one horrible iPhone launch, do you know what it's going to do to the United States? Think about it. Think about it. All right, what else we got?
That's it.
All right, folks, that is the Don't Unfriend Me show. That was a successful Q&A. That was fun. Let me know what you think. Did you have a good time? Did you not have a good time? Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have not shared, please do. I'll be on tomorrow with a new show. We'll have a recorded show and a live show.
It will be a short one because I have to go to bed soon.
Yeah, you got to go to bed soon. Yep.
Otherwise, I'll just get off earlier.
No, you'll get off later too. So, so anyway, folks, do me a favor. Stop by thedumbshow.com. Go pick yourself up a new hat, new shirt. We've got some cool stuff. You can go to the Dumb Store at the Dumb Show. I know you did it on thedumbshow.com. You can listen to the podcast. You can watch the videos. The entire catalog is there if you have not had a chance to do that. You can also go over to Anchor FM and listen to the show, but you can buy some cool shirts. 10% goes to the Travis Manion Foundation and the rest goes in my greedy little pocket. But there is some great clothing over there. Stop on by, say hello, and do that for me. I will go out like I always do with a Veteran Crisis Hotline, and I'm going to put this in here right now because I know it's not going to play. Let me see. See, it wasn't going to play. It does it every time.
What is it?
It's my closing show.
I'm David
Folks, we're
Borealis
going out with the
from
Veteran
Cast
Crisis
SEAL
Hotline.
Team.
Good night.
And we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call